over a period of time, when I started my career in cybersecurity, I started with the implementation of PKI. Okay. I did manage PKI implementation. I used to implement identity framework across the organization. Now that was the organization's owner, the board, the management is there. And this is what you have been, talking about with your organizations as well. But today, we have seen that, the boards have started realizing the awareness of cybersecurity has improved.
Oh, you guys are here. How are you doing? Welcome back to the GB show. I think from last 11 episodes, we have talked a lot about security. We have talked about technology, use cases, implementation. One question which most of you are asking me again and again, भाई कौन सा solution लगाना है? Return कहाँ पे मिलेगी? Right? So today I have bring to you how to maximize your return on security investment. And to talk on that topic, we have Mr. Ajay Bhayani. He's Director Security with Ambisure and have 13 plus years of experience. With that, he has evaluated 100 plus cybersecurity solutions. We are going to talk to him and ask which solution is right for us and what return on investment we can expect.
Hey guys, I'm here to meet Gaurav for the GB show. Come with me. Hey Gaurav, how are you? Gaurav!
Arey, aa gaya tu?
Hey boss, how are you?
Good man.
Ready for the show?
Welcome to the GB show. Yes, I am all ready. Born ready.
But by the way, tension में क्यों लग रहा है?
अरे यार पूछ मत. स्टार्टअप खोल तो दिया है.
हाँ.
सिक्योर कैसे करना है समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
तो तू सीसो थोड़ी ना है. You have a team, do it.
अरे यार सीसो से ज्यादा ना ओनर को टेंशन होती है.
बात तो तेरी सही
बाय
है.
द वे तुम बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो इन्वेस्टमेंट में. सो व्हाट इज योर सिक्योरिटी इन्वेस्टमेंट मंत्रा? गाइड मी यार.
Okay, so let's look into this, Gaurav. See, and because we are here to talk about this.
Yes, exactly.
So see, your concerns are very clear, and there is always a concern that how to maximize my profits or my returns of my security, and this is a problem of every CISO, right? What I think of is that the security investments are as good as the capability of the security team.
Okay.
If you do not have the right security team, okay, whichever good implementations or controls you buy, it's completely useless.
Okay. So means skill set is most important. Then comes the investment. And of course, I'm trying to build a team at this point of time. But before even I start building that, I'm looking into, what kind of different solutions I can talk into. Being startup, I don't have much of money. Okay, people are saying put EDR, then say that put cloud solutions. Then they're saying make data privacy. all things are there. How you're putting your data in. But what do you think security investment landscape and how it is going?
So let me take you through this, right?
Yeah.
I started my security journey for about more than a decade back, about 13 years now, and the whole idea which I have seen is that the world has moved out from point implementation of security controls to a framework based implementation, right? So how do what do you mean by that is you had antiviruses in place. Initially it used to be firewalls, VPNs, antiviruses. That was the security implementations, right?
Yes.
But today we have what? SASE, Zero Trust Network Architecture, SSE, right? These are the frameworks which are being designed. Now, why these frameworks and why not point solutions? Okay. Now, over a period of time, when I started my career in cybersecurity, I started with the implementation of PKI. Okay. I did manage PKI implementation. I used to implement identity framework across the organization. Now, that was something which was very next gen at that time. Why? Because we were talking about creating a complete dynamic layer of security across the organization. But what has changed is that the amount of threats, the way it has evolved, the sophistication of the attacks which has been evolved, that has created a lot of concerns across the organizations. And one thing which I've always seen is when you look at cybersecurity earlier, it used to always be an afterthought, right? आज attack हुआ है, let me look into the security investments.
Yes.
It's good and very fortunate that you are today thinking, because you come from that background, right? Because even though how small the organization doesn't matter, you really need to be, security conscious. It's not only the job of a CISO, it's a job of a organization's owner, the board, the management is there. And this is what you have been, talking about with your organizations as well. But today, we have seen that, the boards have started realizing the awareness of cybersecurity has improved tremendously, right? And that's where we have moved out from being an afterthought to a proactive investment in cybersecurity. So that's what the changes have happened so far.
Yeah, it's needed today because you can't do a thought after the implementation, because earlier the era was like the fraud is happening or you have implemented technologies and after years you come to know there are bugs. Today, if you release it, the malicious attackers or hackers, in there, in like seconds or minutes, they will come up with, oh, this application has been hacked as it's launched. So you are waiting for the launch. They are waiting more eager than that you launch this application.
That's
and
right,
there to attack. So that is what there. But majorly, as a owner of a startup or in the larger organization, when we look into the security investment is a big challenge because frameworks are changing every 6 months or year, and every time new terminologies are coming in. You tell me that in 13 years, antivirus, PKI to assassin.
I can actually tell you that. Right? I have seen the industry moving from antiviruses to next generation antiviruses to EDR, endpoint detection and remediation, to XDR. We are talking about MDR these days. But again, we are just talking about the point solutions. We talked about firewalls, then we talked about IDS, IPS, next generation firewalls, right?
Yeah.
Then, okay, we missed out UTM in middle somewhere.
Yeah, UTM
right?
is there. AI is coming in, behavioral analytics is there. Then we talk about identity, now AD security is there, IPAM is there, IPM is there. There is no end to it, right?
There is no end to
Where is the boundary? Where I see that this is okay?
So, as we all know, we have been talking about, right? Security is myth.
Yeah.
Right? I always keep on saying this. I'm a Gujarati, right? And we have this old saying, Ahar, Vyavahar and Nidra, jetlu vadarvo vade, jetlu ghatadvo ghate. Just put it in English. Your food capability, your the relationship and your sleep, you can increase as much as you want, you can decrease as much. It's completely upon you. When I say completely upon you, is upon your mindset, upon your thought process. If you want to achieve something, you're definitely going to, lessen your sleep, eat healthy food and all those stuff. If you do not care anything about your life, you're not going to do it. Just implementing same into the security, right? If you want your business to flourish, you want your business to grow, okay, you are going to do the right investments on security controls.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to do the right investments in implementing cybersecurity controls. It's not that ki, this is a new terminology, ye implement karna hai. You cannot do that. It's practically not possible because not every organization is capable to do that. I mean, large organizations, on an average, I have seen almost average is like $50 million is an average annual, spending an organization on security, and this is bare minimum. The investments are much larger than. But what about the small size organizations? What about the mid-size organizations? Can they really do it? No, and that's where you really need to make sure that whatever implementations you do across your organization, you need to maximize that.
Okay, how? So that will be my question. So अजय, तेरे को भी पता है बहुत सारे सेशन किए मैंने. प्रैक्टिकल बात करते हैं, ठीक है? अभी मैं आया, ये तेरी कंपनी है. What are the first few solution? That's the bare minimum I put, which is what we call it like need, want, or then you have something called
no. So I mean, I have a different approach here.
Must to have or good to have.
No, so must to have, good to have. These are again other terminologies at the end of the day. What do you really need to? You don't look at from a security control perspective, Gaurav. You need to look at from your business perspective. You need to really realize, I mean, I have been into risk management, right? You need to understand what are your business risks. if your business demands that the data is your priority, we keep on saying in all our conferences, data is an oil, data is new oil and all. But if data is not your priority and your service is your priority, then you secure that first rather than your data.
Okay.
Right? So you need to have that as a thought process first. You design your security controls, your security architecture from the need of the organization rather than you designing it from a perspective that, okay, I have an endpoint, I need to have an antivirus, I have a network, I need to have a firewall, I have a lot of people working in my organization, I need to have an identity framework. No, don't do that. Do you really need an identity framework in your organization? Sit down and evaluate. Do that as a risk management exercise. Then only you can come down and decide on the security controls. That's the first step, I would say.
Okay. So cyber risk assessment. You are saying
that's
right? So that's how it is. So once that is done, I want to secure, let's say, services, or I want to secure, let's say, data. So now you have evaluated 100 of solutions. If I go into 2 lines, so let's say services, if I want to secure, what are your recommendation from defense in depth? And if I want to secure data, what are your recommendation for in defense in depth?
So defense in depth is something which we need to focus on.
Yeah.
When you are designing, so once you have that problem statement in place, one of the most important aspect to look at is that can you have that defense in depth? Can you create that multiple layers of security in your organization so that if one fails, other can take care of it, right? I'm not saying that firewalls are not important. I'm not saying that antiviruses are not, endpoint solutions are. They are important. But you need to justify that as an investment, right?
Yeah.
When you are implementing, okay, and we have been doing it, right, from day one when we started implementing PKI. The whole thought process out was that whatever technology, if we are implementing for an organization, we make sure that the organization makes best out of it, right? What happens, I'll give you a simple example. We had an organization, right, implemented DLP for almost 2 years. Now, you know the story of DLP, right? It goes from a monitoring mode to a secondary or primary rejection mode and then a complete reject mode, right? After 2 years, and I'm talking about a very large bank, right? This bank was having a DLP for 2 years just on the monitoring mode. और मैंने security control implement करके रखा है. What's the use of it? The business need was identified. I'm not saying the business need was not identified. But even after implementation, what is the use? The security control is not doing its job. You're just paying for it. You are not seeing the return on your investments at all, right? When we looked into it, when we sat with the bank and we analyzed the requirements, we came to know that all the stakeholders in your organization, right? They have a major challenge because when they talk about the security investments or the DLP part, they said that the moment you put it on the reject board, all the data which is going in through the email or through the network, it's getting blocked and our work is not getting done. And now this is where, your business takes priority. When you talk about security and business, security cannot sustain without the business. So that's where it is really important for you to understand that if business is not convinced, now how to convince the business? That is the question. Because you need to maximize the existing investment. Am I right? So how do you do that? That's where we came up with the thought process. And of course, it was a trend at that time that you need to classify the data. You cannot just keep on blocking every data. And that's where, the right thought process that before you classify the data again, you need to first understand the data flow of your organization. Unless you don't understand that data flow, right? You really cannot classify the data. You cannot classify the data. You cannot block your data. And that is the whole story you need to drive, right? So even when I say that, okay, go ahead and implement a firewall, okay, is it just required? Can we do something below firewall? Can we set up a policy? For a smaller organization, not for a larger organization. It's difficult to manage a larger organization. But for a smaller organization, can I just have a flat network? Okay, and this can sound controversy, but in a flat network, can I have a policy across my small team that not to visit certain websites, right? Large organization, I cannot rule that, but in the small organization, can I do that? Is what the thought you need to bring it up.
छोटे से क्वेश्चन का इतना बड़ा आंसर. Can you simplify it for me?
Okay, so let's come to the question. So if it's a service organization, what is important for you?
My infrastructure and operations and people, right?
people. You need to make sure that whatever the tools and technologies your service team is using is available, right? So you need to design your security technologies or the security implementations from an availability perspective.
Okay.
Now, which are the security controls or processes which you're going to implement from a service perspective? Do you have a BCP in place?
Okay.
Do you have a disaster recovery piece?
Kind of.
Let's say, I mean, disaster recovery in the sense that if some person is not there or some person in your organization faces an issue, right? Can you really still go as business as usual or not? Okay. Or even if there is a business disruption, you are conducting a conference, and how fast you can come back to the normal and make sure the show must go on, right? That is what the thought process. That is where you define your policies. So security implementation is just not implementation of the controls. It's about the implementation of the people, process, and technology.
Fair enough. So in nutshell, if you are a company focusing on data security, you go for data classification, DLP.
Correct.
If you are into the service and you want to make your tools available, go for availability, have BCP, DR in nutshell, and then carve out your investment plan, right?
Perfect.
So that is done. Let's say the first stage we have through, we know how to do the risk assessment, then carve out your plan and do. So when it is enough and how I can actually look into ROI, because first I need to understand, right, what is the return? Then I will think now how to maximize it. First, in security, which I heard, or as per me, security is in itself is ROI, right? But what you say on that, and at what level we can maximize it?
So before we look into the ROI, Gaurav, let's look into one more step behind. What are the challenges and what are the current situations in cybersecurity implementations today? And I have seen multiple challenges.
Okay.
Right? One of the major challenges that the security implementations which we are doing today in any organizations, it's all siloed approach.
Okay.
Right? When I say siloed approach, okay, I have an EDR. I'm just saying EDR because it's just more of a terminology today. I'm implementing EDR. Okay. EDR works in itself. Okay. Then I have a data security. Then I have a threat intelligence platform. Then I have a SOC. Or, all this data comes to the SOC and it's only actively monitoring. We are losing that as a factor today. That's one part. Second part is that there's a lot of overlapping. Let me give you this as an example. There are so many technologies where you see that it's looking into the encrypted traffic. You have got firewalls, you've got IDS, IPS, you've got data security technologies, you've got SOC, you've got your MDM solutions, right? And many more. Every solution is looking into the encrypted traffic. Do you really require it? Why you need so much of overlapping in the security investments, right? You are paying extra money for the same activity to be done. Why? It's not required, right? That's another part of it. Third part of it is that we get driven by a lot of, jargons in the industry. That's not required. So that's where the major challenge is. We are not focusing on, the actual security implementations rather than we are focusing on the jargonization of the security implementations.
Okay.
Right? And that is something which is a major challenge. Now, how do we overcome, coming to your question, that how do we make sure that our investments are really, we have a right returns on our investments? Now, that is where you need to really think of it, that every security technology has to talk to each other, right? Is it really possible? Today, no. No security. Why it is not possible? Because every security vendor says that my security technology is a silver bullet. In fact, I remember I had an Indian OEM who had gone in the conferences and said very clearly, आपको और कोई सिक्योरिटी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं चाहिए, सारा निकाल दो, मेरी टेक्नोलॉजी लगाओ, आपको फायरवॉल की भी जरूरत नहीं है, आपको एंटीवायरस की भी जरूरत नहीं है, आपको डेटा प्रोटेक्ट करना है ना, आप मेरा सॉल्यूशन लगा लो, मैं गारंटी देता हूं आपका डेटा कहीं पे भी नहीं जाएगा.
Okay.
Right? Now, you portray yourself as a silver bullet. You don't think it from a collaborative perspective. All these security technologies has been designed by the perspective of that, understanding that problem statement. And they have made best out of it. right? You cannot deny that, boss. Okay. And you cannot just say कि भाई मुझे firewall नहीं चाहिए तो मेरी security technology. You need to make sure that every security technology is able to speak out. But now you will come back and tell me, अजय SIM तो ये करता ही है, SOC तो ये करता ही है. Agreed. It does it, but it does it till certain aspect of it. Okay. It does the monitoring. It will help you activate or understand the ongoing threats. It will not tell you that if you have implemented the technology to the 100%, or you are missing certain controls. When I say missing certain controls, that you are not, your certain policies are not on while you are implementing. So just to give you an example out here, let's say you are doing an attack surface monitoring out here. So attack surface monitoring, just to give you an understanding, is a platform which will help you identify what are your open assets across your organization, right? Which are open to public, not internal to the organization. And that is something what hackers also look, or threat vectors also looks into it. Now, you really need to understand as a CISO. But just understanding, is it enough? No. Because when you take that as a issue and give it to an IT team to fix it, IT team बोलेगा ये false positive है, मेरे लिए important नहीं है. Because the moment I start fixing it, okay, my business is going to go under downtime and it's not affordable for an IT. So that's where you need to give a context to it. You need to give a security quantification to it, right? And that's where when you are able to give that as a quantification, okay, that's where you maximize the attack surface monitoring platform.
Okay.
Right?
So quantification, then you get to know the investment. The one challenge which I see, right, there are one point which you have mentioned very rightly. Okay, there is no one solution which solves all the problem. There is no one vendor which solves all the problem, and then everyone says my solution is best and it will help you, with all. So overall, when we are putting this in all, where I will stop. So that is in practical form remains a question. But I would like to know, because you are helping many customers to define their security strategies, and you yourself have many solutions in your pocket, right? What is Ambisure's way to go?
Okay, so I mean, see, one of the Ambisure ways which I have always said that whichever technology we implement, we make sure that we have that implementation 100%.
Okay.
My work is just not to sit down with the customer, implement it and leave the organization. No, we sit with you.
I have, before a question, right, Ajay, before even we implement, do you help me drive a business case with ROI?
Which is required. That goes without saying, Gaurav, because see, what happens is that we do not sit with the customer that, sir, aapko DLP chahiye. My team will never do that.
Okay.
I mean, I have trained, and this is what my mentor, when I started my business in security, okay, my mentor told me that, Ajay, tujhe 2FA nahi bechna hai. You need to sell the concept. You need to sell the solution. You need to make sure that that problem fits. So just to give that background, we used to talk about identity as a framework. We used to talk about that there is a dynamic security layer across the organization. So in 2010, 11, we were talking about multi-factor authentication, or 2FA, not even multi-factor, on VPNs. That's it. We were not talking about anything else. At that time, in 2011, 12, 13, we started talking about, boss, you need to have a dynamic layer of authentication across your organization, irrespective of wherever you are, right? You are using a VPN, you are trying to log in into any applications, you are trying to use any SaaS platforms, you are using, any ERP profiles or anything like that. You need to have a complete dynamic layer of authentication. No one should be able to talk about passwords. We are still talking about passwords today, and today we have been talking about passwordless authentications, right? And that is the level. I mean, we have invested ourselves. I mean, we have a hunt in our organization that what is the next technology we should be focusing on, which will be the right technology we should be implementing or positioning for the Indian region, right? But now I'm not satisfied here, because what I am seeing today is that even if I'm maximizing the utilization of my security implementations in the organization, right? My technology is not talking to the other technology.
Big challenge, yeah.
Let me give you an example out here. Okay, the security industry is very irrational out here. When I say irrational, is that No vendor would like to share their data with other vendor.
Very valid point, yeah.
Right? No vendor is interested, I'm good at DLP and the other guy is good at, let's say, a DRM. Let's say that. Now, DLP and DRM are two different technologies. Can we have a synchronization between them? It doesn't happen because today a DLP vendor is looking to become a DRM vendor. And that is what is happening. You're seeing OEMs, and let's not name them. You're seeing OEMs who are trying to build everything in one. Now, this is a major problem because I looked at as a single point of failure. And that is completely not good for the organization, right? You have invested your time. I mean, and I have a lot of respect for all those people who are technical CISOs and who has a really great task to explain to some non-technical management that, you need to really have this as an investment. And you need to keep on showing that as a benefit over a period of 3 years, 5 years, and then again explain them that, this is not good, and it requires a tremendous effort. But just imagine that if I have certain security investments in place, and if I am able to create that, remove that irrationality between the vendors and showcase that, this particular control is doing certain amount of work, and then there is another control which is doing another part of work. It's not doing the same thing. So just for example, we just talked about the encryption part, the encrypted traffic. It's not continuing in that, right? The other technology is not, it's doing something more than that. And that's where you're creating the right level of defense in depth, right? So that is what something I want to happen now. And this is what we have been now talking to the organizations that, sir, don't buy technology. Let's stabilize and maximize the existing
ones.
That is what the way we have been focusing on now.
Okay, and there's another trending stuff which we are talking about is the mesh, right? You want to talk something on that too?
So cybersecurity mesh architecture was something which was given by Gartner. Gartner keeps on coming with this lot of jargons, acronyms, CSME. Now, when it came up to that, it's a very logical conclusion for all the security investments done so far.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because what is happening is that हमने सारा implementation तो कर लिया, but the problem is that we need to sit down. We do not have a single dashboard approach. We do not have a consolidated dashboard to understand that which control is most effective in the organization, which control is trying to use which policies, or do we have a standardized implementation of policy across all the controls? Do we have that or not? We have not seen that. And that is where Gartner has come up with the mesh architecture, that on an average, a large organization, not a small organization, a large organization has on an average of 40, 50 security controls.
Yeah.
Some repetitive, some very unique, can be anything. And if we talk about the security technology landscape, we have got around 400 plus technologies in place, right? Now, this is where Gartner has come up that you need to have a single consolidated dashboard where all the data comes, where you have a single dashboard approach to understand that whatever the implementations you have done, you know that your security controls have been working effectively. You have the right policies enabled for all the organizations. When I say right policies, let me give you this example out here, right? Consider a large organization is facing a phishing attacks to almost 25% of the management executives. Now this is an alert. Now how do you make sure that this particular technology, anti-phishing technology, talks to other technologies? Here with this technology, you change the policies in your AD environment and your Microsoft policies. Plus, you also alert the same, create a policy in your EDR as well.
Okay.
Now, this is where you are talking, one technology is talking to 3 different technologies. And that is what is required. Can you do it from a single dashboard approach or not? Okay. That is where you really need to focus on. And that is where your mesh architecture comes into picture.
I mean, it's a bit complicated, sounds to me. I don't know how simple it is, but how to achieve it?
No, see, it's definitely complicated. It's not going to be easy because here you have to not only look at the collaborations, but you need to also, overcome a lot of complexities of each and every security vendor. There is a simpler way to it.
Okay.
Without doing much of a change in your environment, okay, we can do that, right? That is pretty much doable.
Okay.
Right? There are multiple ways to it. Okay. One is something which I said that, consolidated dashboard, but there are other ways to do it. You can also, test your existing controls against the attacks in the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Why, people do it as a service as well. They call it as red teaming, right? But you need to do it on a continuous basis. Why? Because you need to know that every new attack or every sophisticated attack, your control is able to sustain that, is making your organization more resilient to cyber attack. That's one of the ways. Another ways which is always followed by almost all the large organizations is having the SOC team, a right SOC team and the right SOC implementation which is able to look at all the alerts, monitor it and help you identify it. So these are two other ways, but one of the latest ways which you need to look at is that whatever the technology, what are the alerts you are getting, you need to make sure that each technology is able to talk to the other one. And that is where you need to focus on.
Fair enough. And Ajay, it was really great, insightful session. And I think a lot of things I have learned about investment, and I hope I can able to make a great and good investment for CxOJunction and CyberFrat.
You have always me on that. You don't have to worry about that, boss.
Definitely. Okay, so I don't need to worry. But for my audience, okay, what are the 3 rules of security investment you will like to tell them?
That's a great thing. Okay, so guys, if you are looking for security investments in your organization, this is 3-step mantra you should be focusing on. First thing, design the security controls from a perspective of your business rather than any other security jargons or the vendor's perspective. Second is, whatever you implement, even if you have implemented just a single firewall or an antivirus, make sure that you are maximizing the use of that to its 100% potential of that security control. And if you have more than one security control, that's where your third aspect comes into picture. You need to make sure that every security control is able to collaborate with the existing control in your environment. That's what the 3-step approach which I normally follow with my customers and the organizations.
Thank you, Ajay. I think great, valuable insights, and thank you for being on my show.
Hey, thanks a lot. I hope this is
you will love it. You will love it.
Okay, thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, have secure investments. Bye-bye.